Talk with Kellyanne Conway, counselor to the president. She joins us now live from the White House. Kellyanne, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. We set this up a little bit at the top. Let me just hit the reset button for our viewers before I ask you the first question here. It's the subject of Michael Flynn, the National Security Advisor, reports that he may have discussed those sanctions that the Obama administration placed on Russia with the Russian ambassador before Donald Trump became president. Vice President Mike Pence denied this on January 15th. Now we have a statement from Flynn that says it is possible. He can't guarantee that he didn't have these discussions. Basic question here, does the National Security Advisor right now enjoy the full confidence of President Trump?
Yes, General Flynn does enjoy the full confidence of the president, and this is a big week for General Flynn. He's the point of contact for many of these foreign visits. If you look at the official schedule, today we had the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, here, obviously, for bilateral meetings. On Wednesday, we're welcoming Benjamin Netanyahu here to the White House. And behind the scenes, they're doing a number of different meetings where they're talking about trade, they're talking about terrorism, security, the fact that Canada and the U.S. are very important neighbors to each other and will continue to be. And obviously, the National Security Advisor is a very important point person in those discussions. General Flynn has said he can't recall, and that he had about 30 phone calls with, I guess, leaders at the time, and since then 70, I'm told, with different leaders, and I'll just leave his comments at that.
But by saying that he enjoys the full confidence of the president, these two questions that are out there: one, whether he had a conversation before Donald Trump became president that involved the sanctions, and two, whether he misled or provided false information to the vice president, to Mike Pence, who then went out there and said, hey, this conversation, this type of conversation never took place. By saying he enjoys the full confidence of the president, are you saying you're satisfied that he did not have those conversations, that he did not mislead the vice president?
No, those are two different questions. You asked me, and I'll repeat the answer. Does he have the full confidence of the president? Yes, he does. Then you're asking me, what did he talk about with people when I wasn't on the phone? So the only way for me to answer that is to tell you what he has said, which is that he can't recall. And what he informed the vice president at the time through a conversation was that he had not. The vice president went out on TV, as you know, in January, and repeated that based on the conversation he had with General Flynn. I do find it curious that, with General Flynn as our National Security Advisor and with the full confidence of the president right now, Steve, that we're not talking about all the things that got done over the weekend and today. We have the Prime Minister of Canada here. We had the Prime Minister of Japan over the weekend for a very extended visit here in Washington, D.C. at the White House and down at the Winter White House in Palm Beach. We have phone calls between the president and the leader, the president of the United States and the presidents of South Africa, of Tunisia, of Colombia, of Peru, of Nigeria. It's a lot of significant things happening with our Commander-in-Chief and our President of the United States and leaders around the globe, and obviously General Flynn is a part of all of those.
But when you say you're repeating what he has said, and what he has said, the latest statement, and we can put this up on the screen, this is the revised statement from Michael Flynn. This came out on Friday. He said that he doesn't recall, as you're saying, doesn't recall discussing sanctions with the Russian ambassador, but, quote, couldn't be 100% certain that he didn't. Are you saying that is good enough for President Trump to consider the matter settled? Because, again, you had the vice president go out there and say on national television in no uncertain terms that the two of those, the ambassador and Flynn, had not discussed the sanctions.
I think General Flynn's statement speaks for itself.
Has he discussed this with the president?
I can't reveal what he has discussed with the president.
But have they had a discussion since these revelations came out about this?
They discuss many things. So the president and his National Security Advisor, they routinely discuss any number of issues and concerns.
Has he had a discussion with the vice president about this?
They talked twice on Friday. It's been reported. It's been made public once in person. I happened to be around that, and then once by phone later in the day. And
is the vice president satisfied? Does he believe this was an innocent mistake on his part? How would you characterize the vice president's reaction?
The vice president's reaction, anything that's been made public, you can see for yourself. Other than that, I will not reveal what the president thinks or feels about anything, any more than I would reveal what Steve Kornacki thinks or feels about anything.
So do you consider it, if it is true that he had discussions. And again, the concern here in terms of federal law, the concern here is the idea of a private citizen engaging in diplomatic conversations. This is, again, before Donald Trump became president. If there were discussions involving the sanctions before Donald Trump became president, would you consider that, if that was revealed, would you consider that a fireable offense?
You're asking me to answer hypotheticals, and you're not looking at the other side, which is, what if it's not true? I haven't heard that question at all. I only hear it in the negative context. And I think we'd have to know the full, you're just asking me based on hypothetical set of non-facts. I'd have to know what the full example is, what the facts are, to be able to answer the question. And so far, I think the best evidence you have is what General Flynn has said as recently as Friday, and to look at what General Flynn has been doing with the President of the United States and the Vice President since. He's been fully involved in all these meetings. He spent the whole weekend working down in Florida, obviously involved with at the level of the President meeting with the Prime Minister, Abe, and the wives meeting, and of course the National Security Advisors meeting, and the senior staffer and their counterparts from Japan meeting. And then again, he's been there, he's been present for these calls with the presidents of, I'll repeat them again because they don't get a lot of coverage, South Africa, Colombia, Tunisia, Peru, Nigeria. Just in the last couple of days, we have Prime Minister Trudeau here today. The National Security Advisor is very involved in all of that. In the bilateral meetings, we'll have Benjamin Netanyahu here on Wednesday. National Security Advisor very involved. And so I know we want to talk about this one aspect, and you're asking me to answer questions about what other people thought or did or said or believe and their confidence levels. And I can only tell you what I know and what I'm allowed to reveal, and I can only tell you what they've said in terms of characterizing somebody else's feelings.
Well, in terms of what then, did Flynn apologize to the Vice President?
I won't reveal that. And that's a conversation between the Vice President and the National Security Advisor. I know that they talked twice on Friday. They obviously were together today. I walked into the joint press conference with them, talked to them in the holding room before we were in there. But not about this, about any number of other issues that are facing this country and that they've been working on very diligently throughout the weekend through today.
The reason this has been reported, the reason this information is out there, is that apparently the intelligence community intercepted these phone calls between Flynn and the Russian ambassador, and the reporting suggests there are transcripts that are available. In the interest of clearing up all of the public questions and all the questions I'm asking you right now, do you think those transcripts should be released?
I'm not sure that there are transcripts. I think you just used the word reportedly and allegedly.
If the transcripts exist, do you think they should be released?
It depends. It depends what's on. It depends if they're a matter of national security interest. I mean, there's this idea that somehow everything the president, the vice president, national security advisor know, whomever they are, in whatever administration, should somehow be what the rest of us know. And that's just not true. And it shouldn't be true. They should always have information that we don't. But in the case of these transcripts, again, would have to know what the context was, would have to know what's in them, what they're relevant to. I mean, we're putting conundrums on top of hypotheticals, on top of conjecture here. We take it all very seriously, but I think we're having the same conversation 7 different ways respectfully, and ignoring all the other things that the National Security Advisor, President, Vice President, and this administration are doing together.